Time for another double indie game review here on the channel, where I'll be taking a look at two games with very different uses of their mechanics, featuring the Forest Cathedral and 24 Killers. The Forest Cathedral is an adventure-style game that loosely retells the story of famous scientist and environmentalist Rachel Carson, who during the 60s would go on to discover the impact that DDT would have on other life forms and animals and the dangers it would pose. The game itself, however, doesn't quite follow things as exactly as that, because I don't remember us having super environmental detective vision back in the 60s. But the game itself has a lot of style to it. It kind of gives off this Twin Peaks vibe to it, especially how cutscenes will jump between different takes, different areas, and so on. Now, while the game may look like an adventure game, surprisingly, it's actually a challenging 2D platformer. You see, in order to interact with the various devices in the island, Rachel must turn to the little man here, a little platforming hero in the guise of what looks like a Virtual Boy aesthetic, in order to solve the various areas and move on in the world. Now, our little man here has all the staples of 2D platforming. He can run, jump, dash, and as well as use his sword to deal with enemies. Now, you only take one hit, but there are checkpoints very liberally placed all throughout each one of these sections. When you're done with these areas, you'll get back to exploring the world itself. Now, the main thing about the Forest Cathedral is that it does feel a little awkwardly paced. If you're going into this expecting an adventure game or puzzle-style game, you're going to be disappointed by the fact that it is very platformer-focused. And the platforming is alright. I would say it's on the moderate to moderately challenging side. Some of the quote-unquote boss battles and challenges can be a little bit difficult due to a lack of checkpoints, but while you're watching this footage and you're thinking again that it's a story-driven game, but with hardcore platforming elements as well. And that does, I think, kind of leave it in a very weird place in terms of the market for it. The game itself is on the shorter side. I think it was maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, give or take. And the story it tells is a very interesting one, and I do like kind of the real world impact that the game has, or the messaging that goes with it. But it's one of those titles that, again, that if you're expecting one thing or the other, you may not be fully enjoying this. And I would have loved, I think, more puzzles in the world itself. The setting kind of gives off the vibe of The Witness or a Myst, with all these weird puzzles and devices around you to interact with. But the entire game is 100% linear, so there's no real way to go off the beaten path, find additional puzzles, and so on. So all in all, I did like this game. Again, the story was intriguing, and it definitely has style to spare. And I would suggest if you're looking for a game that is basically like a weekend or rainy day style game, the Forest Cathedral could be a decent one to check out. But with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at 24 Killers. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then be sure to check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. We now turn to 24 Killers, and this is quite an unusual game. The closest comparison I could really think is if we combine Earthbound, Suda 51, and Animal Crossing into a very weird blender. Our story is that we play as Home, an extra-dimensional creature who has been trapped inside a dead body by an equally mysterious creature called Moon. We are stuck on an island in the Indian Ocean, and our mission is to try and save all the people, or whatever they are, who are stuck underground. And to do that, we are going to have to eat lots of food, perform a variety of tasks, and not run out of energy and collapse from exhaustion. So, this is certainly going to be an interesting game to talk about. The general play is essentially a series of vignettes and kind of mini-game-like structure. Home here, as it meets and talks with the various people, will become friends with them. By becoming friends, you will unlock their photographs, which in turn will allow you to transform into them. As you transform to each different character, this acts as kind of like a power/progression element. So once you start becoming friends with strength-based characters, you can pick up and grab and throw heavier objects. Another character lets you kind of hover or fly around the island, and you'll gain more and more, and the challenges will get more and more stranger as the game goes on. You are limited to what you can do each day based on your energy meter. That is the number in the upper right hand corner. Performing tasks and just moving around will drain that, and your only ways to recover that is to eat more food or go to sleep. All the while, you're treated to this very zen and zany atmosphere for this game. And it's one of those titles where there is no way anyone's going to be able to properly tell where things are going to go in it. And that does make it a very interesting sell as a game. If you're looking for a traditional style game, or one that kind of plays like very easily, I don't know, 24 Killers is going to be it. The game starts out a bit on the sluggish side, as you don't have a lot of ways of interacting with the world, your energy meter will be very low, and you can only do a few things. As things go on, you'll unlock more minigames, more challenges, and there'll be more things to do over the course of each day. And this is kind of where like the Animal Crossing comparison comes in, that you're doing all these weird tasks to basically unlock more things to do, more rewards, but none of it like individually I would say is super difficult. This is definitely not the game for someone who's looking for like a super hardcore action adventure game. But it is such a interesting mishmash of genres, mechanics, and systems. As another example, each save file in the game acts as a parallel world, and when you complete that save, you will unlock a permanent boost to your account that will apply to additional starts. So there's even this kind of like idle new game like prestige system to 24 Killers as well. So it does make it a very awkward game to recommend. As I said, like, this is one of those games that you're not really going to know what you're getting into when you first look at it or pick it up. But I really enjoy this one for just how crazy it can feel, and just like you never know what is going to happen next in it. And if you're someone who likes your indie games to be on the weird and just completely unknown side of things, then I highly recommend 24 Killers. But with that said, we're going to wrap things up for this double review. Thank you for watching. You'll find links to everything down below. Let me tickle your game for a future piece. Please reach out. Do all the YouTubing, bell ringing, and stuff like that. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily sessions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.